If there's one thing I can be sure of, is that I will overestimate what I can bully my brain into doing. I used to always do a monthly TBR, and in the last few years I've really struggled to stick with that. I have found that I have become quite a mood reader. I like to pick up shiny new things, and my brain just isn't braining how it used to. Add to that a big long period where I really struggled to read anything ebook related or anything on a screen. I could only pick up physical and audio for a while. Despite that, I did not stop requesting books that I was interested in on Netgalley. So this year, I'm starting Project 80%. I am not foolish enough to believe I will get my rating to 80% by the end of the year, but I want to be a lot closer than I currently am. Where do I currently stand? On Netgalley, I currently have 117 books waiting for me to review them, and my feedback ratio 32%. So this year, come along with me on this journey. Join me if you are also finding yourself slightly overwhelmed by your approved books, and let's get our feedback rating higher by the end of 2025. This is episode 3. I am halfway through the summer. I keep wanting to say The Summer I Turned Pretty, but that's very different vibes. I assume I've not read that book. The Summer I Ate the Rich. So I'm halfway through. I literally started it this morning and I can't stop. I cannot stop. So we follow Brienne, who is it Brienne? A Haitian migrant. Her and her mother came to moved to America when she was like a baby, and they've left all of their family in Haiti. And our main character has 5 sisters, I believe it is, who she's never met. They still live in Haiti, so her and her mum like send all their money back there. And our main character, Brienne, is only I think possibly 17 or so, and she really wants to be a chef. And her mum is one of those migrant mums who's, has worked herself to the bone basically. And she wants her daughter to have a good work ethic and doesn't kind of see like being a chef as a viable option. Her mum has like worked herself to the bone, being, I don't know, like a maid, not quite a maid, like a personal medical helper. I'm not quite sure, for this wealthy family in particular, like the patriarch of the wealthy family, as he's been quite ill, and she's been working with them for like 16 years or something. They treat her very poorly and basically see her as a servant, etc. And her mum is very ill, and she has chronic pain, and she has a implant or something that's supposed to release like painkillers to help her through the pain, but they can't afford the pain medication. It's like $10,000 a month or whatever. So her thing is always beeping at her, telling her to refill her pain meds, but she can't afford to. So all their money goes to their family back in Haiti. At the beginning of the story, the patriarch of the family, who the mum looks after, gets hit by a car, and then he does subsequently die. And Brienne sees it. She is like the witness to it. And then, so obviously her mum loses her job because he's no longer around for her to look after. As a thank you for, like, I don't know, their help or whatever, the family give some phones and put them on their family plan. Not to be kind, it's just that they can always be able to get hold of her. And through some sort of mishap, Brienne's phone gets the text messages of the son of this wealthy family, Silas, who is like head of the family business, and he's like billionaire. He's basically like, I think he's supposed to be a
bit of a twist on Elon Musk. I mean, there is a conversation how he had some bad press because he said like how much to end world hunger, and they said you could do it in this amount, and he didn't do it. He just spent that amount on a fancy meal for his friends. So I wonder where that idea came from. And yeah, there's some sort of mishap, and she ends up receiving his text messages. So she like replies to people, and ends up donating loads of his money to like these various charities. And obviously she doesn't get away with it, and so they give her a like 3-month internship at their business, and so she's just started that where we are. So I don't think I've given away too much, because this is kind of where it starts. And she's just like obviously hating the wealthy people, but she needs to take the internship because it comes with medical insurance for her mum. Alongside all of this storyline, our main character is also a zombie. So she was like born a Haitian zombie, and so she has a real hankering for human flesh, which is what makes her such a good chef, because she's very good at preparing meat. And I have no idea what that part of the storyline is doing now. I have no idea where they're going with that, but I love it. It's so fun. It's giving like iZombie vibes. It's like zombie comedy, and I kind of love it. And yeah, it's just so random, and the way they just throw it out there is so random, and I'm loving it. And I'm really, really, really loving the way this book is written. I'm loving the like the composition of it. So we every few chapters we have a chapter that's like, I think it's from the viewpoint of her sisters, but it's kind of written in quite a omnipotent way, and it's like storytelling, like floating above, telling a story from afar kind of vibe. And I love it, and it's really cool. And it's like discussing the history of the family and what happened, how they ended up having to move to America, well, her and her mum. I know it's also random, and I'm really loving it, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it all comes together at the end of the book. But right now I need to go to bed. I am going to go finish another book, start this one, and I'll be finishing The Summer I Ate the Rich in the morning. So I'll be back with my final thoughts very soon. So it turns out I should not do like reading check-ins late at night, because I'm quite certain I just mispronounced a whole bunch of things, like a whole bunch of things for this book. I'm quite certain, I haven't listened back, but I'm quite certain I pronounce Haiti as Haisha. So late night check-ins not to be done. I also got her name wrong after saying I'm not going to get her name wrong, because I don't want to. I got her name wrong. So smart me. Need to do a review though. I will be back shortly for my thoughts. And my final 4-star for the month is The Summer I Ate the Rich by Maritza Ameki Muliti. I'm sure I've mispronounced them, and I'm very apologetic for that. I believe they are sisters or sister-in-law. No, I think they're sisters. I was reading their bio. I think this is a debut, and this is a YA kind of literary horror. It is marketed as horror, but I don't want like the wrong type of horror reader to pick it up. I would say it's more on like the horror light side, and very much more a literary piece, which is, I just don't want people who are expecting like dark horror to pick this up and then be disappointed, and then like give it a bad rating because it was not what they were expecting, if that makes sense. So we follow Brielle, who is a Haitian migrant who lives in the US with her mother. Her mother brought her over when she was a baby. She has 4, I believe, sisters back in Haiti, and she's never actually met them, or doesn't remember ever actually meeting them, but she has a lot of video calls with them.
And she has grown up with her mother working herself to the bone as a like maid slash servant for this wealthy family, just so that Brielle can have the opportunity for a for that like dream life in the US that a lot of migrants are looking for their children. Brielle's passion is cooking, and she really desperately wants to run a supper club, which are these like exclusive, like a wealthy person or family will hire you to come to their house and do like an exclusive like 4-course meal or whatever that they can invite their friends to and be all like, oh, I found blah blah blah, I found this chef first, like that kind of vibe. But Brielle's mum is extremely sick. She got sick on the job, but they cannot afford her mother's medication. So Brielle has to work as much as she can to help with bills and help her mum, because she doesn't want her mum to be working herself into the ground, obviously. And then her mum loses her job, so Brielle starts doing the supper club that she always dreamed of on the side. And then throughout this all, Brielle is also hiding the secret that she is a Haitian zombie, and she discovers that if she uses human flesh in the food that she is serving up to the wealthy, they absolutely love the food, and she can slightly manipulate them as well when they eat her cooking. Alongside that, Brielle also ends up working for the family that her mother worked for, but in their offices. And she finds herself in a position where she is kind of one-on-one with the type or with the part of society that are kind of determined to keep her and her mother down. It's very interesting. It has a very interesting discussion on class and like the capitalist nature of medication, racial inequality, and like the socioeconomics that the country is built upon. My next 4.25 was Blood on Her Tongue by Johanna van Vern. So this is a queer historical horror, is it? Yeah, a queer historical horror. And as with her other book, which again I gave like I think 4.5, which was My Darling Dreadful Thing, this is set in the 1800s in the Netherlands, and we follow Lucy and Sarah, and they are twins, and Lucy is like the wallflower twin. She is just kind of in the shadow of her more outgoing sister Sarah. One day she's like informed that Sarah is unwell, so she goes to visit Sarah, and prior to her Sarah's she goes to visit Sarah at her like marital home where she lives with her husband. And Sarah has fallen quite unwell, and no one's quite sure what it is. It's kind of like the beginning part really gave me like Mexican Gothic vibes, but that's where the similarities definitely end. And prior to becoming ill, a body, like a fossilized body, was found in the bog on Sarah and her husband's land, and Sarah became absolutely obsessed with the woman in the bog. And then she becomes ill, and she kind of has like ramblings, and in her diary she talks about how the woman in the bog has come to take over her and things. And Lucy's really confused, and she wants to look after her. And Sarah does have a history of mental health breakdowns, which have obviously been treated pretty poorly considering the time frame in which this is set. And then during her visit, Sarah starts to become quite adamant that she is being possessed by something, and then she starts to become quite hungry, and human food doesn't seem to be fitting the bill for her. This was such a good book. I really enjoyed it. I think that Johanna van Vern just writes gothic atmosphere so well. And this is brilliant. It really was. So I am just over halfway through the Buffalo Hunter, and we're going to ignore the I have children mess everywhere. The what's the word I'm looking for? The tension this book is building is so good. The way we swap between the priest, reverend, holy man, and the story that Good Stab is telling is just so incredibly good. The pastor, that's what he is. He's a Lutheran pastor. This is set in 1912 in America, in like the American West, where a bunch of non-indigenous folks have moved there and are doing their thing. Oh, thank you. Oh, gone. And when I say doing their thing, I am obviously referring to genocide, forcefully taking of a country that is not theirs, wiping out buffalo, those kind of things, you know, just stuff. And Good Stab is a member of the Blackfeet tribe, and he has been infected with something that has effectively made him a vampire. I don't know if, I mean, he refers to himself as like a cat man, so I would say this is a vampire story, but obviously possibly the use of the term vampire is not correct for the culture that the story is set in, but I will say vampire because that is what I see it as. He gets infected, and then he now has to obviously consume blood. And the really cool thing about this is the blood he consumes changes him, like his physical form and how his brain works. So he starts off consuming a lot of buffalo. At the beginning he drinks a lot of buffalo blood, and then he starts getting horns and things. So yeah, the more he consumes of certain things, the more he becomes. So then he decides that it is he has an opportunity to get revenge on the buffalo hunters, i.e. the new Americans that are arriving. Apologies for any lack of using correct terminology. This isn't a history I particularly know. Then he starts to look like one of them. He starts to get facial hair, which as an indigenous person he didn't have before, and things like that. So I really like that kind of element of like the vampire. And he's going every Sunday to talk to this pastor in this town, this city that's been built up. And the pastor's slowly coming to realise that he's probably not safe, and he is probably hearing this story each week and it will end in his death. And I love that kind of cat and mouse element and the tension it's building. Stephen Graham Jones, he's always a hit for me. I haven't had a miss as of yet, and I wasn't too sure about this one because it's quite historical, and I wasn't 100% sure if this would be a hit for me. I was like, is this going to be the one that doesn't quite reach those expectations I have? But I'm really liking it. I'm really enjoying it. I have been reading a lot of historical genre blends recently, though. I recently read The Familiar, which is like a historical fantasy. That's by Lee Bardugo. The Reformatory by Tanana Reeve Dew, which is a historical horror. So I think I don't know, I'm starting to quite enjoy them. Whether or not I would enjoy just a straight up historical, I think I would, but I don't know. But yeah, so I'm just over halfway, I think. So we shall see. We shall see. Right, so I finished the Buffalo Hunter Hunter and I loved it. I love this book. Hang on, let me just It's so hard to get like natural light in my house, which is very frustrating. I don't know if that's gonna help a little, maybe. I really loved it. It was a 5-star for me. It really was. I really loved the pacing of it. I loved the tension that was being built up. I loved that the like final quarter just was fucking crazy. Like, I did not anticipate a lot of what was going to happen, and that is my experience with a lot of Stephen Graham Jones books, so is very on brand for him. I just really liked this. I really liked this. I loved the setting. It was such an interesting setting to explore, and I loved the vampire within this book and what the vampire did, and like how it becomes whatever it consumes. So if it consumes a lot of a particular animal, it basically becomes that animal, but it still has like the human brain, but it starts to think like that animal as well, and it like loses itself. And I thought that was such a brilliant way of approaching it. I don't know if that is a particular vampire mythology that I've not heard of before. Often I'm just kind of force fed the Western idea of the vampire. So yeah, I really appreciated that. I think that Stephen Graham Jones's mind is an amazing, amazing place, and this certainly proves it. And it, for such a long book, the pacing was held throughout. There was no bits where I was like, when is this finishing up or whatever. It was just, I was interested, I was intrigued the whole way through. It was going, yeah, like I just wanted to know more, I wanted to learn more. And I really enjoyed the mixing of the time periods and like modern day being thrown in there every now and then. And I just, yeah, if you're a fan of Stephen Graham Jones, you're probably going to pick this up. If you haven't read from him before but you enjoy horror, I do recommend picking him up. But he has such a range of different horror. But if you enjoy historical horror with particularly with like a vampire set or a vampire element, this is going to be, this is one you should pick up 100%. Yeah, I think I'm going to be thinking about this. I will be shocked if this isn't like on my favourite books of the year when we get to the end of the year. Honestly, it was so enjoyable. I think that Stephen Graham Jones's mind is an amazing, amazing place, and this certainly proves it. And it, for such a long book, the pacing was held throughout. There was no bits where I was like, when is this finishing up or whatever. It was just, I was interested, I was intrigued the whole way through. It was going, yeah, like I just wanted to know more, I wanted to learn more. And I really enjoyed the mixing of the time periods and like modern day being thrown in there every now and then. And I just, yeah, if you're a fan of Stephen Graham Jones, you're probably going to pick this up. If you haven't read from him before but you enjoy horror, I do recommend picking him up. But he has such a range of different horror. But if you enjoy historical horror with particularly with like a vampire set or a vampire element, this is going to be, this is one you should pick up 100%. Yeah, I think I'm going to be thinking about this. I will be shocked if this isn't like on my favourite books of the year when we get to the end of the year. Honestly, it was so enjoyable. Let's talk about Emily Wilde. Oh, Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. Yeah, Lost Tales. The trilogy is over, and I look, a lot of series do tend to like fall flat at the end. It's like the author can't quite do it in a satisfying way for me. But this was not one of those. Heather Fawcett, she's done it. She's written an amazing trilogy, and the pretty much the whole of the book, or at least like the whole of the second half of the book, I was just on tenterhooks, like waiting to find out what was going to happen. So much of it shocked me, and things that I thought were going to happen didn't happen, and then things that I never thought would happen did happen, and it was just so whimsical but so emotional, and it broke my heart. It like shattered my heart in so many different ways, and I can only thank it for doing that. Honestly, in my opinion, my humble opinion, this is a perfect trilogy. It really is. It's going to be a series I reread so many times. I found that how we finished up Emily and Wendell's story and those closest to them was just so wonderful, and I couldn't quite see how it could end satisfactorily and like with everyone being happy, and Heather Fawcett managed to do that. And yeah, it's just, I can't stop smiling when I think about it, and the character growth that the two of them have gone on, Emily and Wendell, and the fact that a lot of it was due to each other. And oh yeah, I loved it. And I love Wendell for like who he is and how he goes against his nature in so many ways, and how he is so utterly besotted with Emily, as he should be. And I love that Emily is still, she's had character growth, but she's so reminiscent of the Emily we met at the beginning of book one. Like her core being doesn't change. The things that are interesting to her and the things that give her agency don't change. She doesn't change for a man, is what I'm trying to say. She doesn't change for her love interest. She is still, because Wendell loves her for her. He loves all those things about her. And I don't know, I think they're such a wonderful book couple. And yeah, I'm like sad that it's come to an end, but I'm really pleased that it has, and it hasn't like dragged on. And I feel like the overarching story is over, and actually a trilogy was the perfect length for this story. There was no kind of, for me it didn't feel like there was points where we were just like fill in, like just filler stuff to try and stretch it out to a trilogy. It didn't feel like there was too much going on. I just think it was very well paced. It was a very, very good trilogy overall, and this as the final book was perfection, in my humble opinion. And this is going to be a series I reread 100%. I have the Fairy editions, so I can easily just grab this series and reread it whenever I want. And I think this is going to be one of those series that I give myself permission to reread whenever the inkling comes. There's not many series that I do that I say to myself 100%, if you want to reread that, you reread it whenever you want. There's this one, and the Luminaries are definitely one of those series I say I can reread whenever I want. But I've only just noticed these little bits are really relevant to like the stories. Oh, the designers on these are got the story so well. They're so good. I'm in love. I'm absolutely in love. Have you read this series? Oh my god, I can't stop smiling when I think about it. Okay, so Meat Eaters was really, really fun. This was a graphic novel in which we wake up with a 19-year-old Ashley, finds herself in the middle of the woods covered in blood, and that sends her into this like situation in which she discovers that supernatural beings are real. So she's trying to work out what she is. She finds out vampires are real. She finds out werewolves are real. Because she's trying to control this hunger and this thirst that she has that she doesn't understand. And she's just constantly feeling tired and rough and just not good since she woke up that morning in the woods. And then when she's going for a run one night, someone approaches her at a gas station and says to her, like they spot that she's dead basically, and she's like, how do you know? And they're like, oh, because you don't have a heartbeat. So they give her like this little, like a little ticker that she can keep in her pocket that like replicates a heartbeat so that other supernatural creatures don't know that she is dead. And so she assumes she must be a vampire as well, because that's what they are. And they invite her to this nightclub where she can learn more about supernatural beings. When she's there, she discovers that werewolves are real and that two of the kids from her school are werewolves. And the owner of the nightclub, who is quite knowledgeable in the supernatural, says to her, you're not a werewolf, you're a zombie. Says to her, you're not a vampire, you're a zombie. I don't know anything about zombies. I didn't even know they were real or whatever. So Ashley is stuck in this situation in that she can't remember how she became a zombie. She's learning how to control it, and then she accidentally becomes like the pack leader for the two students, her two classmates that are werewolves. And it was so fun. It had a lot of heart to it. The art style was really, really good, and that the color scheme for the art was really, really good. If this sounds like something you'd enjoy, I definitely recommend it. I will be waiting to see if a second volume comes out, because this was just really enjoyable. So we'll start with When the Tides Held the Moon by Vanessa Vida Keeley. This was such a good book. It's a queer kind of like, no, not steampunk. It's set in the 1920s in New York, and it's set at like a kind of freak show on Coney Island. There's it's like a fun fair, amusement park. I'm trying to think of what the correct word is. And they have like a freak show there, and they managed to capture a merman, and he's going to be the main attraction when Luna Park opens for the season. And they hire the man that runs the circus show, hires Benji, who is a immigrant to New York. He came across on a boat that sunk, and he managed to survive and make it across. And he hires him to build a tank, like an ironwork tank, to keep the merman in. And then Benji ends up getting a job at the fair to look after the merman, basically. And some romance blossoms, and it's got some wonderful conversations about, I mean, this is set in the 1920s, so it's got some really good conversations surrounding like racism at the time, possibly still now, the idea of like servitude, and how people who are other, as in queer, have to hide who they are, the homophobia, etc. And I just think it was really, really well done. If you like The Shape of Water, The Greatest Showman, what was that, A Big Fish, I think that's the kind of vibes you're gonna get from this, so you should definitely check this out. I loved this. I did it as an audio, but the physical and like digital copy have illustrations in that the author did, so I really want to get myself a physical copy, so that when I reread it I can look at the illustrations. And yeah, it was such a fun ride. I do worry that it's going to be a book that I don't like think of in a year's time, so we shall see. Legend of the White Snake by Shirley. This was an interesting one. So this was I didn't find out till afterwards, but this is a queer retelling of a Chinese folklore, and we follow a snake spirit who steals a pearl off a young boy, and then the pearl has magic and you can make wishes, and he makes a wish that he can turn into a human at will, and that is what he ends up doing. Years later we follow June, who is trying to hide that he's a snake spirit. He's like living as a human, and he's kind of on the run. He doesn't really know what quite from, but he knows that he needs to keep moving. And then we also follow Jean, who is a we also follow Shan, who is a prince, and he also happens to be the boy that had the pearl and had the pearl stolen from him. And he wanted the pearl to heal his mother, who is ill. So he has been spending his life trying to find this white snake to get the pearl back. And then happenstance means that the prince and the snake spirit meet and get very close and effectively like fall in love, all whilst basically not knowing who each other are. It is really, really sweet. I really enjoyed this. I would say it could have, in my opinion, like the pacing was a little slow in some parts, and I definitely think that it could have done with losing maybe 40 or so pages just to like make this pacing a little bit more snappy. But overall it was such a great love story. It was there was like a really good mystery to boot, which I was not expecting throughout it. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I did tandem read this. I got the book out from the library, but my Netgalley one was an audiobook, so I tandemed it. And the audio did have some issues, like one, the narrator was really kind of tinny or echoey, which was quite frustrating. I don't know if there's an issue with the Netgalley app. But so I'm glad I had the book as well to tandem it, because it just helped the experience a bit more. But yeah, this was a really fun, it's a YA, it's a queer retelling, and it's just it had a lot of things going for it, and it's definitely one that I would recommend to people. It was like high stakes, an adventure. It was enjoyable. It really, really was. And I think possibly the length might not bother anyone else. It might have just been a me thing. So if you like the sound of it, I would definitely say pick it up and give it a try. I think I settled on 3.5 for it. So I would recommend it, definitely. So there we have it, another 7 down. We need to be speeding up these episodes. I can't be doing them this slow. So let's just do a recap and like what I gave these books. So we had the Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones, 5-star obviously. Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett, 5 stars. Blood on Her Tongue was a 4.25 star, and that was by Johanna van Veen. When the Tides Held the Moon was a 3.75 star, and that was by Vanessa Vida Kelly. Meat Eaters by Meredith McLaren was a 4.5 star for me. The Summer I Ate the Rich was a 4 star, and that was by Maker and Maritza Muleti. And then finally, Legend of the White Snake by Shirley was a 3.5. It's a really great group of books. Let's look at the stats and where we're ending this episode. So we've had 19 books approved since the last episode. Someone stop me, please. I've got 139 books to read, and we're at 35%. If I could just stop requesting, that'd be great. I need to stop my late night requesting sprees. But 35%, we're still higher than when we started the year. It's going very slow. I was hoping to get to around 60% by the end of the year, but at this rate, I don't know. Who's to know? If you've made it this far, drop a snake emoji for Legend of the White Snake in the comments. Let me know your percentage or a book you recently got approved for by Netgalley. Thank you for joining me. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you soon for another episode. Bye, friends.